Good morning. This is third video of respiration. In first video, we have discussed about the introduction, about the part of respiration, and about the respiratory organs. In this video, we will start with the capacity of lungs. Lungs capacity is total capacity is the volume of air in the lung upon the maximum effort of inspiration. Among healthy adults, the average lung capacity is about 6 liters. Age, gender, body composition, and ethnicity are factors affecting the different range of lung capacity among individuals. Total lung capacity rapid increases from birth to adolescence and plateaus at the around 25-year-old. Capacity: male tend to have a greater total lungs capacity than females, while individuals with tall statures tend to have greater total lungs capacity than those with a shorter stature, and individuals with a high waist to hip ratio generally have lower total lungs capacity. Clinicians can measure the lung capacity by plethysmography, dilution helium method, nitrogen gas washout method, or radiographically by relatively new technique. Radiography, which is used computed tomography. So now let's see the capacity of lungs or the respiratory volume in the normal human adult are approximately as tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, inspiratory capacity, expiratory reserve volume, vital capacity, and residual volume, total lung capacity. Let's discuss one by one. Tidal volume. The tidal volume is the air breathed in and out in a normal unforced breathing, which is about 500 ml. Right? So tidal volume is the total volume which breathed in and out in normal breathing. Dead air space. Some tidal air is left in respiratory passages such as trachea, bronchi, where no diffusion of gas can occur. The dead air space is approximately 150 ml. Alveolar air. The tidal air contained in air sac, that is approximately 350 ml. Next is your inspiratory reserve volume. Inspiratory reserve volume is the air that can be drawn enforceably over and above the tidal air, that is approximately 3000 milliliter. That is also known as compartmental air. Right? Now, next is your inspiratory capacity. Inspiratory capacity is the total volume of air a person can breathe in after the normal expiration, and that is approximately 3500 milliliter. Next is your expiratory reserve volume. Expiratory reserve volume is the air that can be forcibly expelled out after normal expiration, that is also known as supplemental air, and its volume is 1000 ml. Right? Your next is vital capacity. Vital capacity is the total volume of air that can be taken in and expelled out by maximum inspiration and expiration, and the total volume of vital capacity is 4500 milliliter. Next is your residual volume. The residual volume is some air is always left in the lungs even after forcibly breathed out. When you forcibly breathe out, some amount of air remains in your lungs. That is called residual volume. This is approximately 1500 milliliter because it remains in the lungs. That's why it is called residual volume. Right? Now let's come to the total lung capacity. At the starting of this video, I have already discussed that the maximum air which can be any time be held in the two lungs is approximately 6000 milliliter, that is 6 liter. Right? Now see here, there is the graph which shows about the different type of air volume, right? Your residual volume, your inspiratory capacity, your tidal volume, your inspiratory release volume, right? Your expiratory volume. Here is the summary of your respiratory volume. The tidal volume consists of alveolar air and dead air, space air. Alveolar air consists of 350, dead air space is 150, commonly constitute 500 ml. Second is inspiratory reserve, that is approximately 3000 ml, right? And tidal volume and inspiratory reserve commonly constitutes your inspiratory capacity, that is 350 ml, right? And the inspiratory capacity and expiratory reserve volume, which is 1000 ml, commonly constitutes your vital capacity, that is 450 ml. And the vital capacity and residual volume commonly constitutes your total lungs capacity, and that is 6000 ml, that is 6 liter. Got it? Now let's come to the inspired air and expired air. Inspired air is the air which enters in your lungs during the inspiration, and expired air which comes outside from your lungs after the expiration, right? The inside the lungs is never replaced completely, you know that. It always a maximum mixture of air which left inside and air inspired. The air in the lungs is the only becoming better and worse with the inspiration and expiration, right? The expired air differs from inspired air in the different manners. You know, expired air contains less oxygen as compared to the inspired air, and expired air contains more carbon dioxide as compared to the inspired air. Similarly, expired air contains more water vapor, and the expired air which are warm as compared to the inspired air. Expired air which are coming from the lungs, you know, the lungs which is situated inside your body, and the body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. So whatever the air coming outside after the expiration will be higher temperature than the inspired air, and it may contain some bacteria. Fine. So expired air may contain some bacteria. Now let's come to the effect of altitude on breathing. You know, when you go up The air we breathe is decreases in pressure accompanied by gradual decrease in oxygen content. Right? We know that at 4,500 meter above the sea level, you may suffer with a sickness, which this sickness is due to the lack of your oxygen, and which may lead to the dizziness. Fine. And continuous dizziness, there is a unsteady vision, loss of hearing, lack of muscular coordination, and even completely black out. As you move upside, the air pressure decreases. Air pressure decreases, which results in the less inspired oxygen, which may lead to the different disease. One is your hypoxia and second is your asphyxiation. Right? Now, let us discuss about the hypoxia. Hypoxia is the deficiency of oxygen reaching the tissue. It may result due to the sitting for the long hour in a crowded room with the poor ventilation. It may also be experienced at the high altitude where the oxygen content of the air is very low. Right? Hypoxia is the condition in which your body are getting continuously less oxygen. Right? Less oxygen. When you are sitting in a closed room which have a no ventilation, then your body will get continuously decreased oxygen and it may lead to the hypoxia. Second is your asphyxiation. It's a condition in which blood becomes more venous by accumulation of more carbon dioxide and oxygen supply is diminished. This may result due to the several causes, causing strangulation, drowning, or any obstruction in the respiratory tract. This may lead to the death if the proper treatment is not given to that person. Right? Artificial respiration is helpful in this condition. Fine. Now, let's come to do some experiment on breathing and respiration. Your first one is to demonstrate the water is lost during breathing. Gently breathe upon the cold surface such as piece of glass or salt. The water droplets appearing on the surface. This proves that presence of moisture in the expired air. Right. It means that when we expired, some moisture also comes outside. Particularly in the winter season, you may find that the water vapor are coming outside from your mouth. What does it mean? It means the water vapor are continuously coming out from your body along with the expired air. Second is to demonstrate the carbon dioxide is giving out in breathing. How you will determine that carbon dioxide is eliminated from your body when you expire? For this, take a setup of this one. Fine. Set apparatus as shown in the figure. Clip C is open and clip D is closed. Air is sucked in by mouth through the tube in the center. Atmospheric air rushes in flask A, bubbling through the lime water. Next clip C is closed and clip D is open, and the air is blown through the same central tube. This time the air is forced into the flask B, bubbling through its lime water. The process is repeated about 10 times. The lime water in flask B turns milky faster than in the flask A. This proves that the expired air contains more carbon dioxide than the inspired air. Right? Now, let's come to see The average composition of inspired and expired air. You know, the inspired air, the air is composed of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor, dust particle, and temperature. Inspired air contains 20.96% of oxygen, but your expired air contains 16.4% of oxygen. The O2 absorbed at the alveolar surface, right? Whatever the oxygen enters in your lungs get absorbed at the alveolar surface because there is a blood capillaries present over there. Second is your carbon dioxide. In an inspired air, carbon dioxide is present approximately 0.04%, and in expired air it is about 4%. Right. So expired air contains 4% of your carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide released at the alveolar surface. Means carbon dioxide, what is formed inside your body due to the cellular respiration through the veins, it comes to the lungs, pulmonary arteries. Through the pulmonary arteries, this come to the lungs, where it get diffused into the lungs. Fine. Next is your nitrogen. The composition of your nitrogen is 79% in your inspired air. Right. The composition of your nitrogen is inspired air is 79%, and in expired air it is 79.6%. This nitrogen is unused. This nitrogen is unused because this nitrogen is not get absorbed in our body, because our lungs are not able to absorb this nitrogen. So it remains unused. Second is your water vapor. In an inspired air, the content of your water vapor is very low, right? But in expired air, the composition of water vapor is very high. Evaporation of water from the respiratory passage, right? Means when you expired air, the composition of your water vapor is very high. Right. Now come to the dust particle. In expired air, the dust particle variable but usually present variables. In expired air, it is little, if any, right? Next is your temperature. Your temperature is variable because it will depend upon your external environment, but the expired air have the temperature about 37 degrees centigrade, because you know that whatever the air you expiring is coming from your body, and your body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. So the expired air contains 37 degrees centigrade of temperature, but the inspired air contains variable temperature. Right. Now let's come to demonstrate the action of diaphragm during the breathing. Right. To do this, to find out this, set up a experiment and make a setup shown in your figure. The rubber sheet tied around the bottom edge of the bell jar represents the diaphragm. Right, whatever the rubber sheet you see, that represents your diaphragm. When the sheet is pulled upward, volume is increased, pressure inside the bell jar lowered, and rubber balloons are expanded by the air rushing in through the tube at the top. When the sheet is pushed upward, the volume is decreased, pressure inside the jar increases, and the volume collapses due to air rushing out. The balloon represents the two lungs over here in this experiment. Right. So you see this rubber sheet performs as a function of diaphragm. Now let's come to the next experiment. Your next experiment is to measure the volume of expired air. Right? To measure the total volume of expired air, set up an experiment which is shown in your figure. Right? Fill your chest with air to the maximum and then blow out through the short tube, expelling as much air you can. Fine. Whatever the water expelled from the other tube when measuring gives the volume of air you exhaled. Right? So whatever the volume of water will come out in another container from the bottle will be the total volume of air you expelled out. Next is your to show the oxygen is taken by animals during respiration. How you can demonstrate that animals needs oxygen and absorbs oxygen during the respiration. Fine. To show this experiment, use a small animal such as cockroach or rat. Take two conical flasks A and B. Place the live cockroach in one flask A and dead cockroach that has been soaked in formalin to prevent decay in the other flask B. This flask with the dead cockroach act as a control. Fit the rubber cork in mouth of each flask and make sure that the apparatus is airtight. So whatever the apparatus you are making, that must be airtight so that the external air could not enter into the flask. Right? Now leave the flask for several hours, after which introducing a small burning candle into each flask. Right? After some time, introduce a small burning candle into each flask. Immediately after introducing the candle, close the mouth of flask tightly. When you place a burning candle into the flask, as soon as possible, close it. Right? Now, the time taken for the candle flame to go out, you will find that the flame goes out fast in the flask A containing the live animals. Since oxygen supply supports burning, the flame of the candle go out of the faster because the live cockroach also consumes oxygen for the respiration. Right? Now, why does it happen? We know that in one flask A there is a live cockroach and in flask B there is a dead cockroach. In live cockroach, when you placed a burning candle, so burning candle also requires oxygen and live cockroach also requires oxygen for the survival. And you know that oxygen helps in burning. So both burning candle and live cockroach need the oxygen. Then you will find that the candle which are placed with the live cockroach, right, will not burn longer as compared to the other flask. Fine. And the candle which have dead cockroach will burn longer as compared to that candle which contains a live cockroach. Why is it happening? Because dead cockroach do not need oxygen, so whatever the oxygen present in the flask B is only consumed by your burning candle. right? So this experiment shows that the living organism requires oxygen for their survival. So this is all about the respiration. Thank you.